All right, everybody. So welcome to Debunking the Myths on Buying Units. We are Monarch Mortgage. We're going to be talking about a few things, and we're going to be flying through this seminar. So if you guys have questions, feel free to either unmute, post it in the chat. We do have multiple people moderating the chat room, so you might get some responses right back in the chat, or we'll just answer them live so that we all can make sure you guys get the answers you came here for. So Monarch Mortgage is we are a team and growing. So, just know that you're not just working with an individual here. You are working with a company, including loan officer assistants. We have processors. We have, of course, loan officers. And we offer a lot of different programs. So today we're talking about mainly what you can buy units with. However, we offer FHA, VA, conventional bank statement programs, non-QM, reverse mortgages, DSCR, pretty much every loan product out there we offer. So just keep that in mind. How we help you win. So first off, we are a mortgage brokerage. If those of you who are, so we are not a direct lender, and believe it or not, that is a great thing. And the reason why is because our interest rates are lower than direct lenders. Our turn times are faster than direct lenders. I personally just got through closing my third loan in 14 days. We're helping people close as early as 2 weeks on purchase transactions, not down payment assistance or anything like that, but on a standard purchase, FHA or conventional. Okay. We have great customer service. Most of our business is repeat clients. We're very knowledgeable. We speak to listing agents to help sell your loan if they're pre-approved through our company. We answer the phone after hours, and we have a great pre-approval to close rate. So we're not seeing a lot of fallout. This industry average is about 75%. We are batting in a 90 percentile. Okay. So that is great. Licensed, ready to help in multiple states. We're not just in California. We're also in Texas, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Florida. We're also continuing to add more states to to the company. And you are talking to the broker owner of Monarch Mortgage. My name is Carl Delane Fiesta. So this will tell you a little bit about myself. 14 years in the business, 4 years as an owner, 1 year with a physical office here in Inglewood, California. Basically started off back in the countrywide days, subprime lending, saw the market crash, hopped back into 2015, and I've been going strong ever since. Closed over, probably 200 transactions in my career so far, and we're going to continue to keep it going. So, myth number one that I want to ask you guys: do you need to make a lot of money to buy units? What is your thoughts? And we're talking about in comparison to, let's say, a single family residence. And feel free to unmute, guys. We want to keep this interactive, okay? Let's see, we got a chat box. False. You were absolutely right. You can actually make less money than you would typically need to buy a single family residence. So let's talk about why, okay? So why buy units as your first property? So lower monthly payments, access to owner occupied loan programs, learn landlording at a lower risk, build wealth earlier in life, easier transition to future investments, okay? Now let's talk about a little bit of an example of why. So let's look at this building, and let's say that it's an $8,000 a month mortgage payment for this building. Sounds pretty, extreme. But when you start breaking down, hey, if you get $2,000 from this unit, $2,000 from this unit, $2,000 from this unit, and $2,000 from this one, this is essentially paying for itself, right? So that's kind of a good thing about units. Now, let's say you had a property, and after living at the property for 5 years, this unit moved out. Now you're renting it for $3,000. The other unit moved out. You're renting that for $3,000, and you have this person that stayed. How much is your monthly payment? This is going to put you at zero, right? $0 a month. Okay. Now, let's take it a step further. Now, in the first examples, you moved into this property. So when I say that your monthly payment is zero, The other units are paying for you to live here. Okay. So keep in mind, you have no mortgage payment if you were living at this property or your client lives at this property, right? So they move from the property. Now they can net about $3,000 a month in this example. Okay. Now this is something that happens over time. This is not typically immediate, even though we have seen properties that rent roll immediately, meaning that they make money from the first day that you buy them. I've seen it with as little as 5% down. I've seen it, of course, when you're putting 20% down. So buying units as your first property, definitely a great idea. Now, the other thing too, if you guys are, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, if you purchase a single family residence and you go to purchase units, typically you have to put about 20% down because now the units are considered an investment property. Okay. However, if you buy units first, you're typically looking at, if you buy a duplex, 3.5% down. If you buy this fourplex, 5% down going conventional. So you have a lot of different options if this is your first property. If you make it your second property, it's going to be a lot more expensive. Okay. So 2 to 4 units versus single family residence. We have a higher cash flow potential when you're dealing with units. You have easier to qualify because you're using rental income. So that's why you don't have to make a lot of money per se, because you're also using the rental income off of other units to help you qualify. Okay. Depreciation expenses can be used. So when you have an investment property, you can write off depreciation. And even if you live there, you live in one unit, you still have the other 3 units you can depreciate the property against. Faster income growth from rentals when you're dealing with units because you have 3, 4 units you can raise rents on 3% per year or 5% depending on the area, and better against vacancies. So somebody moves out of single family residence, if it's an investment property, you immediately lose that income. Typically on units, everybody's not going to move out at the same time. So you're better protected against vacancies. So let's ask myth number 2. You need to share a wall to buy units. Is this true? Andrea says no, you do not need to share a wall. So I just want to make sure you guys understand something because the first graphic showed a shared wall, right? 4 units with all sharing walls. There are layouts of units, especially like in Los Angeles, California, really area where you don't have. Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry. Okay. There are layouts where you might have a single family residence by itself and then 2 units in the back, or 2 separate houses on a lot, or 3 separate houses on a lot. So units come in different shapes, forms, and fashions. They're not all with a shared wall. Okay. So we have a few different things we're covering today, and a few different team members who are going to be doing it. So Arlette is going to be covering FHA loans. Karen is going to be covering conventional loans. We have Dewan here that's going to be covering VA loans. Ryan is actually at a training, so I'll be covering DSCR loans. And then Ken will be covering self-employed loans, including bank statements, profit and loss, and 1099s. Okay. These are all options for purchasing a 2 to 4 unit property. Without any further ado, I would like to give the floor to Arlette Hamilton.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Arlette. I've been involved in real estate for almost 30 years, and I spent most of my career flipping houses. But now I wear many hats: loan originator, broker, and licensed contractor. I'm a UCLA grad with a BS in mathematics and economics. I was raised in a real estate family. My dad was a contractor working in the field. My mom was a broker working in the office. They managed their own properties, so they modeled that for me. So I was able to see firsthand that you are able to self-manage your properties. What is house hacking? House hacking is a strategy where the owner lives in one unit while renting out the other units. And the rental income, like Colin just mentioned, helps the person cover the mortgage and expenses. And the owner can live essentially for a reduced cost, or in some cases, maybe even for free. And it's a great strategy for first time buyers and allows you to build equity while you and your tenants pay down the mortgage. FHA allows borrowers to purchase 1 to 4 units with as little as 3.5% down. There is an occupancy requirement, so you must live in the property for at least 1 year. There are flexible guidelines with FHA, which means that a person could have a few lates, 30-day, maybe a 60-day on their credit cards, or maybe a recent bankruptcy or charge off, and they still might be able to qualify. Also with FHA, high debt to income ratios are also not a problem. And FHA will allow you to use the rental income of the property to help you purchase, help you qualify. So it's not just based on the individual. Now, if a building is vacant, the appraiser will use the projected rents. And so they don't have to just rely on the income of the individual. There is a vacancy factor that comes into play, but most of the rental income can be used. And mortgage insurance is a requirement for FHA because, of course, you're putting down less than 20%. There's a self-sufficiency rule for 3 to 4 units. The property must be able to take care of itself and the entire mortgage. So the rents on the property must be able to cover the mortgage and also produce a profit. It can't fall short or it won't qualify for an FHA loan.
And before we jump to the next slide, guys, keep in mind we want to keep it interactive. If there are any questions about using FHA to purchase properties, you don't have to answer right away. But if you guys have questions as we go through this, we want to make sure you understand how this works and that you get it, because your clients are going to expect you to be the first. You're going to be the first point of contact, and we want to make sure you can explain it. Okay. So we're going to keep going, but as you guys have questions, because we're going to go from different program to program, feel free to ask either in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. So yeah, keep going, Arlette.
Okay, so this is a chart basically showing, oh gosh, it's kind of small here on my end, my glasses. This is a chart showing the income as it increases over time. Notice in under unit 1, unfurnished 1126, and oh, it's also the opinion of the appraiser. So the actual unit rent on the property is 1126. The appraiser projects that the rent could be 1500. So you can see the difference between what's actually getting what the unit is actually what the property is actually generating and the projected rents for the property. FHA loans are an excellent product for duplexes or even a single family home with an ADU. FHA is very lenient, as I mentioned before. So the person doesn't have to have an extremely high FICO score. Many loans can happen for a person with a score as low as 580. This product is also great for single borrowers. For married couples, however, if one person of the couple has bad credit, then that couple has the option of excluding that person from the loan. However, there's a rule with FHA that you will have to add the person's debt to the loan. This chart highlights the various FHA loan limits. We have our standard limits on top and our high cost area limits below that. Los Angeles and Orange County happen to be high cost areas. Most of the country falls under standard. If you notice on our chart that the standard limit for, say, 2 units is 693,050, but here in Los Angeles and Orange County, the maximum is 1.599375. So it's a significant increase on that loan limit. Also, let's look at 4 units. Notice on the standard, it's 1,041,125. And if you look at the high cost area limits, it's 2.402625. So a huge difference there between the standard and the high cost areas.
Okay, great. It's a picture of me, but I'm not the one that's covering this section. Okay, so I'm going to hand this off to somebody else. But before I do, myth number 3: they're buying units harder than buying a single family residence. No, it's not. Let's keep going. And the next person that's coming up to present will be Dewan Glenn, talking about VA loans and how you can use a VA loan to help you purchase units. Dewan, you're on mute. Give me 1 second.
How about that? Awesome. All right. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. Once again, my name is Dewan Glenn, loan officer with about 25 years of mortgage lending experience under my belt. Of course, I'm coming to you to speak with you about the excellent program that the VA set forth for those first-time home buyers, and or you can be a subsequent home buyer as well. Of course, one of the most important things in reference to the VA loans is that there is no money down that you need to come in with. You simply need to come in with your earnest money deposit. And with VA loans, we always stress to get that earnest money deposit back to the client at closing. Of course, the other particular is that the property, of course, must be owner occupied, right? So going into that 2 to 4 unit property, it has to be owner occupied. One of the other overriding benefit of the VA home loan is that there is no monthly mortgage insurance. Of course, that mortgage insurance, especially here in the Southern California area, is that the home prices we're going to be financing usually between 6, 7, 800,000, if not more. So that mortgage insurance could be anywhere between 4, 5, maybe even $600 additional. But with the VA loans, there is no mortgage insurance requirements. So that definitely will help the client with regards to their ratios, right? Another very excellent benefit is that the credit requirements with a VA loan, we notice that there is very, shall I say, you don't need to have a high FICO score, right? You can, of course, go into a VA home purchase with as little as 580, as well as sometimes you can go down as low as 550. So situations dictate, and the VA home loans is, of course, there to benefit that veteran that have served this country. So again, we'll go down as low as 550. Right now, one other issue with regards to VA home loans is that because you're buying units, and usually when we're going into 3 to 4 units, there is a 6-month mortgage reserve requirements, meaning whatever that monthly payment is, principal and interest, taxes, and insurance, we need to have, or you need to show that you have at least 6 months reserve, be it in savings or be it in a 401 account and so forth. We definitely need those 6 months. Now, available to eligible veterans and service members. Ready? Available to all veterans and service members. Next slide, please. Now, here this chart is giving you a quick comparison of the VA home loan as compared to the FHA 3 to 4 units. Right? As you notice, down payment for VA loan is always going to be zero, zilch, nada. Under your FHA loans, you're definitely going to have to be required to put down that 3.5%. And of course, sometimes when you're looking at units, FHA will go with a minimum of 5%. There is no self-sufficiency test under the VA home loan program. And what that self-sufficiency test means is that you have to show that the rents on the property can cover the actual mortgage payment in and of itself. With the FHA loans, it's actually a mandatory requirement. So the VA, of course, benefits that veteran without having to go through that self-sufficiency test. Occupancy, of course, is always the veteran must live in one of the units. as well as the FHA. The client must live in one of the units as well. Rental income use, right? Rental income under the VA home loan is allowed with vacancy factor, right? Under the FHA program, it is allowed, but must pass that test again, must pass that self-sufficiency test. As stated earlier, with the VA home loan, there's no mortgage insurance requirement. And that's where it's such an important arsenal that we have in our toolbox. Now, of course, the FHA, there is required your mortgage insurance premium as well as the monthly mortgage insurance. So just on those two alone, a VA loan can easily save you $600-700 a month in mortgage payments. Next slide, please. Now, myth number 4, you need 20% down to buy units. And I'm pretty sure everyone would come in and be able to answer this question, right? That is completely a myth as far as that 20% down to purchase units.
Thank you so much, Dewan, for covering that. Once again, guys, keep the questions coming.
Awesome.
VA is such a hidden gem when it comes to getting people into units because most of the time there's this gap in financing, so to speak, where people can't qualify for FHA for 3 to 4 units due to self-sufficiency. And when you jump to conventional sometimes, it doesn't always make the most sense, but VA goes a long way. And covering the next slides here are going to be Karen Foster. Karen Foster, feel free to introduce yourself and talk to us about conventional loans.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Karen Foster, and I am a licensed real estate and mortgage broker, and I also have a background in insurance. And I've been in the industry for 28 years, and I'm going to be sharing information with you regarding conventional loans and financing for 2 to 4 units. Now, with the latest laws, now the minimum down payment requirement is 5%. You do need 6-month reserves. There is no self-sufficiency needed, unlike FHA. And minimum FICO score is 620. However, we do recommend a higher score, 680 and up, because as you know, that will give you a better rate and terms. Next slide, please. Okay, possible lower mortgage insurance compared to FHA. The guidelines are stricter as far as credit and income requirements. And as you know, there is a higher down payment than FHA and VA. It's a good option for strong borrowers, available for owner occupied and investment properties. So if you are coming in as an investor, the requirement may be 15 to 20% down. And the beautiful thing about units is that they're highly desirable as far as amongst renters. Your other units are covering your mortgage. And also the other incentive is future appreciation. Thank you.
Cool.
Myth number 5. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
Oh, myth number 5. You need experience as a landlord to purchase units. Is that true or no?
What do you guys think? Have you guys ever heard of banks requiring experience as a landlord? So I will tell you that VA actually does want you to have experience as a landlord, but you don't need experience as a landlord because you can hire a property management company and get around that guideline. Okay. So, and for every other program that we discussed so far, including the one Karen just presented on, you do not need experience as a landlord. So, any questions so far, please continue to keep them coming, guys. because we're going to keep it rolling in the essence of time since we started a little late here with the debacle of the link. So we're going to go to Ken Smith, who's going to talk to you guys about some of our other programs that can be used to help finance a house or units in particular.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Ken Smith. I'm a senior loan officer, and I've been in the business for over 25, 30 years. I've done a lot of different things in the business, from selling real estate to fixing and flipping homes and doing mortgages. So I'm originally from Detroit, and I've been out here for, like I said, almost close to 25, 30 years in real estate, and I've loved it. So today I'm going to talk to you about a few programs that are very unique and good for people, particularly who are self-employed. So we'll start off with the DSCR loan. So the DSCR loan, this is a really great one that a lot of investors are using to purchase property, because the qualifications are based on the property cash flow. It's not based on you at all. You don't even need a job. As long as the property cash flows, you can get this loan. No personal income verification is required. It's great for investors. It's going to be a slightly higher interest rate, and typically requires a larger down payment. And the condition of the property is important. The property must be in FHA condition. It can't have a lot of major issues going on, or you'll have problems getting this loan.
Michael Lindsay.
Now, regarding this DSCR, we're talking about the DSCR only right at this point between the 2 and 4 units. You can go as low as 15% down with the down payment, 15% down. You'll use the rental income to qualify, and the rental income typically needs to be greater than the mortgage payment. That is considered a 1-to-1 ratio when your PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, equals to what you're getting in the rents. And then you've got some DSCRs that have no ratios. And then you have some that have lower than 0.75% ratio. So it just depends on which particular product you go, but it's a great way to go. And also now with the DSCR loan, first-time home buyers are not allowed. First-time home buyers are allowed, and first-time investors are allowed. The borrower does not need a job or need income, as I mentioned before. Now, with the DSCR loan, it's going to typically require a 700 credit score when we're dealing with DSCRs between 5 and 8 units now. So the bar is going to be a little bit higher here. The minimum credit FICO score is going to be 700. Minimum down payment, 25%. First-time home buyers, in this case, they're not allowed. And first-time investors are not allowed because they expect you to have a little bit more experience when you start dealing with this commercial, 5 units and more. Rents need to cover the mortgage and utilities. So with the DSCR between 5 and 8 units, not just the PITI, but the PITI plus utilities. And often they do require a six months reserve. Now, the next very popular non-QM program we're going over, and of course, the non-QM stands for non-qualifying mortgage, non-qualifying loan. Another really popular one is called a bank statement loan. Now, the bank statement loan requires typically between 15 to 20% down payment. The lender is going to typically want 12 to 24 months of bank statements. No tax returns are required, and it's great for self-employed borrowers. Their income is calculated from the deposits, and the higher the down payment, this is going to be a higher down payment and higher interest rates. And typically you can get your CPA to provide a letter saying that your business expenses are 10%. And if you get a CPA stating that, they'll calculate your income to the maximum. So this is really, really a great way to go as well. Bank statement loan. And then of course you have the 1099 income and P&L income program. So the 1099 is literally just what it says. They're just going to go on your 1099s, and basically they're going to look at They're going to use your 1099s instead of your tax returns. And they may want 1 year or 2 years. It's just going to depend on the lender. All these programs, once again, is designed for self-employed borrowers. Flexible, if you can go back for a minute, we lost that. Flexible income qualification, higher rates than a conventional loan, and ideal for entrepreneurs and contractors. And then, of course, you have the P&L statement loan, where you get to put together your profit and loss statements. You generate it from your tax preparer, typically a CTAC or a CPA, and they'll want anywhere from 12 months to 24 months. And based on what your P&L shows, they'll qualify you. You're going to typically need a FICO score of at least 680, 700, and you're going to typically need at least 20 to 25% down for these P&L programs and the 1099s. But they're a great way to go if you're writing off everything and you can't qualify full doc. So these are the key takeaways here is multi-unit properties accelerate wealth building. House hacking reduces living expenses. Multiple loan options available for different borrower profiles, just depending on what your profile is. Ideal strategy for first time and experienced investors. Education and proper financing are key to success. Any questions anyone have?
Thank you, Cam, for what you said so far. And I apologize if this actually took the thing off the screen. Give me a second here. But I will absolutely say that units are a great option, guys. You guys are realtor partners, potential realtor partners. Any questions you guys have? And by the way, while I'm on this portion here, these are the contact information and applications. If you guys have anybody that you think that may be interested in this in these programs, so you can use this information to get in touch with us. But any questions? Ria, Esperanza, Stephen, Andrea, anything that we didn't cover that you would like to know?
I have a question.
Sure.
You for calling the office of Dr. Winston Shaw.
Hold on, Ken, let me mute you. Go ahead, Esperanza.
Yeah, with the present situation right now, with all these new laws on tenant protection, what do you recommend if you're going to do this kind of?
I'm sorry, Esperanza. Like we heard the beginning of your question, but you faded out. Can you say that again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's a little better. Yes.
Okay. So with the present situation right now, where we have a lot of new laws on tenant protection, we're addressing here people that are first-time home buyers or maybe people who are just starting to be an investor. So what can you advise for those kinds of buyers to protect themselves on these new laws?
I mean, honestly, I have nothing. Purchasing units, when it comes down to tenant protections, I mean, they're meant to, prevent people from being evicted and stuff like that. So, it all depends on the scenario, Yeah, so I guess maybe if it was more specific, Esperanza, but for most part, you want to be working. You want the client who's looking to buy to be aware of what they're facing when they purchase a property, including if a tenant is willing to relocate or if there's any problems with the tenant. So you just definitely have to do your research when it comes down to purchasing units because you don't want to be stuck in a situation with a headache tenant. But make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you interview the tenants. Things like that is probably the biggest thing I could say. Does that answer your question, Esperanza?
Yeah. Okay, that's true. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And any other questions, guys, about units or any other loan programs while we're here? Okay. How does it work for multiple family members buying into the front? Hey, that's a great question. So in the chat here, how does it work for multiple family members buying a 2 to 4 unit? So it kind of depends on a few things, right? But let's just say that you wanted to have, I don't know, so I have a situation right now where it's a mom and a daughter, and they're looking to buy a 2 unit property. Okay, they may stay in a 1 unit to qualify because they can use rents off the other unit to help them afford more, or they may find something where one person stays in one and another person stays in the other. Okay, so just something to keep in mind when it's coming down to purchasing units for family members. Also, let's just say that it was a larger family. Can you have, let's say a 4 unit property with 4 different family members essentially buying units? You can structure that to have income from 4 different families purchasing one property and make that work. Okay. So I'm not sure what your name is because it just says iPad, but iPad. I hope that answers your question. If not, feel free to unmute yourself and go from there. I just put somebody on mute. I apologize because we're hearing some noise in the background. Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, that's just Ken Collins. I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, Karen invited me here,
Very-
and I was concerned because I got a meeting with my family members. I'm a broker
Okay.
and a licensed contractor. And this was interesting because this is right where we're at pulling the nieces and nephews and sons and daughters into starting to buy multi-unit properties. So that was where my question was mostly how many people would have to qualify? Would all of them have to qualify
Typically,
simultaneously?
typically it's kind of a difficult question to answer because I don't know their credit scores, I don't know their income, I don't know their debt. So, I typically advise put them all on the application and then we take off who we don't need, you know? So then that way we know if it will work with them or not work with them, or if we need to add them on or take them off, we have options.
Right. I've sold them all. Their houses are all over 700 scores.
Right.
And it's 4 individuals, which are 4 heads of household of their individual family members. They're existing property owners. So how would that work? I know their scores are all over 700.
If they're existing property owners, then you would probably be looking at a situation. Is anybody going to occupy the property or they're looking to purchase it as an investment?
As an investment.
Okay. So then, so you're probably looking at somewhere between 20 and 25% down on a
Okay.
personal loan for it being an investment. And if they're not going to live there, then it's going to go off the rents of the property itself, like what the tenants are paying, along with the income from the people on the application, right? But you only needed just enough income to qualify. So I would say put in the application with Karen, and let's start weeding through that information. Of who all needs to be on there or what have you.
Okay. Okay. Well, me and Karen, I'll have Karen sit with the group. Karen, are you still there?
Yes.
She's probably going. Oh, hi,
Thank
Karen.
you. Hi. Thanks for being on. Yeah, you know how to contact me, so thank you.
Right, exactly. And I have you set a Zoom meeting up with the group.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
And we're still in the question question and answer segment. So any other questions, guys? Ria, we haven't heard from you. Are you an AI chatbot? Just curious. Steven, what about you? Any questions, guys? Andrea, you've been in the chat box. Let's see each other's profile. Yeah, Esperanza, when that's one of the biggest things about being a loan officer is I wish there was a one size fit all answer. Well, sort of, right? I'm enjoying the fact that being a loan officer is hard to automate out because there's no one size fit all answer, right? So in most cases, you really have to know people's credit scores, debt to income ratio, work history. There's so many things that go into purchasing a property. We make it sound easy, but sometimes when you get that application and it can be super complicated. Just that example that he just gave, let's say it's 4 family members. That's like 4 applications, one property, right? Literally could take you a full day trying to figure that whole thing out. But it's all possible. If there's no other questions, though, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this seminar.